glad you're with us today. I'm out here again at the new Buncombe County Animal Shelter. We were here in February, and Helen, you weren't with us then, but it was cold. Oh my gosh.
I saw the show.
It was so cold. And they were so proud of the shelter, and they thought they were really close. But here we are in June, and we're closer than we've ever been to opening.
We are so close.
And we're here for a tour, and we brought you with us. We're going to go inside and show you the new shelter. One of these days, it's going to have animals in it.
It will.
And I'm here with Helen Hall, tell me what your title is.
I am Director of Animal Services.
Director of Animal Services. And we are going to walk inside in a few minutes and tour the place. But tell me what we're going to see in there.
Okay, we have 3 separate entities. We'll have AB Tech's Vet Tech program.
That's right.
We'll have the shelter, which is Buncombe County Shelter, and we'll have Animal Control, Buncombe County Animal Control.
Okay, so the animal shelter is run by the Asheville Humane Society.
Yes.
We contract with them to run the shelter because
yes, we do.
An animal shelter is a function of Buncombe County government.
Yes, it is.
But we contract with Asheville Humane. But then, so that's one entity, and they'll be in the front here. We'll show the folks at home what we're talking about. And then Animal Control is part of the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, yes. And we'll have offices here to kind of bring us all together. Things work a little smoother when we're all in the same place.
Absolutely. Are you all in the same place now? Before I let you go on with the tour, with talking about what we're going to see, if folks haven't been out to the shelter, you just need to go now before this opens so you can kind of compare.
Really.
And we'll pull some footage to show you what it looks like now, but it's just a whole different life they're living out there. And your office is not at the...
No, we are at the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff's Office. So when this opens, you'll actually be housed out here.
We will.
With the shelter.
We will.
And folks can see that there's 2 facilities here. There's this facility, which is the shelter, where you're gonna bring animals if they're picked up. People are gonna turn animals in if they just don't want them anymore. If they find a stray animal, they're gonna bring them here. They're gonna take care of them. You can tell me about that. But then the adoption facility
is next door. Right, and that is the Asheville Humane Society's Adoption and Education Center.
Right, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But tell me more about what's in here.
Okay, in here we have, for instance, if you have a dog that's missing, you'll come down to the shelter and go through and look and see if we have it. We'll be able to, we have on-site the Vet Tech program, and I'm not sure at this point how far we'll go with them. I know that they'll actually have their classes and such here, which is a great thing. And then also we have a vet here. We'll have a medical staff, our own. Yes, our own. And we do now at the other shelter part-time. But we'll be able, anytime an animal comes in, if it's sick or injured or something, we'll be able to take care of it, basic care.
Okay.
Anything more than basic, we may have to take it to Reach or somewhere else that has I'm not sure if we're going to have an on-duty vet for the entire time that the shelter is open. So we may actually have to utilize some of Reach's services, but we will have medical here.
And there will be a place, if somebody is thinking about adopting an animal, there'll be a place to come and check out the animals, get the animal out.
Next door, in the Adoption and Education Center, yes.
See?
Yes.
That's next door.
Yes.
This is all
Buncombe County, this is all sheltering. This is the area where we take care of the animals, do the temperament testing, and then we send them next door or to other adoption agencies throughout Buncombe County.
So
and
this
they
is the
adopt them.
Readiness Facility.
This is the Readiness. This is the care. This is where this is where we bring them in and take care of them. And for instance, let's say we find an animal out on the side of the road and we bring it in. We hold it for a period of time. Generally, it's 3 days unless we know an owner.
Right.
At the end of 3 days, that animal is eligible for adoption. So at the end of 3 days, then we would make sure that the animal is okay medically, make sure that it has all of its shots, and then we would move them to the adoption center or to another adoption agency in Buncombe County.
Right. So we're going to show a segment that you and I filmed about a month ago about the Leash Law next, so you've got to stay tuned. That's a great segment. But what you talked about is if you find a dog that's off a leash, roaming wild, and y'all pick it up, it's going to come here.
It is.
It's going to come here, and they're going to hold it here for
For 3 days. We'll hold it for 10 if we know an owner. For instance, let's say we scan for a microchip and the animal has a microchip and we find the owner, or there's tags on it that tells us who the animal belongs to. Then we'll bring it here and they'll hold it for 10 days while we're trying to get in touch with the owner. After 10 days, if we can't get in touch with an owner, then it becomes a property of the shelter.
And then it moves across the way.
To adopt, if it's an adoptable animal, it will move to adoptions, whether it be across the way to the Asheville Humane or to one of our other adoption agencies here in town.
Right, which is so important, like you're going to emphasize in our next segment, that if you're missing your animal, that you come down here and look. Immediately. And check to see if it's here, because you want to get it before it gets gone.
Yes, you do.
That's right. Okay, now what's going to happen to, let's say, the dangerous animals that you pick up?
Okay. We will pick up, if we pick up a dangerous animal, if we can come to an agreement with the owner as to they're able to keep the animal in a way that guarantees the safety of the public, then we'll go ahead and we'll allow them to do that with the restrictions that we place on them. If something happens that we have to seize the animal, let's say it caused horrible injury, then it would be housed here until the animal became ours, and then we would humanely euthanize the dog.
And will that euthanation happen here?
Yes.
At this facility?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
So next door is all adoption all the time.
It is. It's adoption and education. That's their main.
That's their main thing.
That is their main. Yes.
Okay, so this is care and that's adoption. Now tell me just go briefly over the highlights of how this is an improved shelter over what we have now.
Wow. Okay. It's probably 1,000% better.
It is.
The roof isn't falling in here. Yes.
No.
The other shelter, the roof is falling in place. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. There's rats.
And they're scrushed.
Oh, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. It's a horrible life for the animals because you walk in and you see a big German Shepherd in a little tiny cage temporarily until they can put it in a run. You know, but space is the issue, and that was the number one reason.
Here, the runs are fabulous.
Yes,
We're going to show you. They're
inside
great.
and outside, yes.
Yes, inside and outside. The cats and dogs are separate. Of course, they're separate in the current shelter, but
not that far. So
not that far. No.
Plus, the beauty of this shelter, if we get an animal in that maybe, let's say we have a puppy that has parvo, then we can move that puppy away from the other animals to keep them from getting sick. Whereas in the shelter right now, I think the last time that they had parvo or a sickness in the cats, they had to move all of the cats out, and they had to clean everything.
And let's say they do a fabulous job with what they have to do with.
Yes.
I mean, these people are amazing, but this will be like heaven for them.
It will be. It will. It's totally night and day different. Seriously, if you think that this is more than we need, you should go look at the other shelter.
Absolutely. If you think that we've spent too much or it's too elaborate, once you see our tour, you do need to go see the new shelter.
You do.
And we'll pull some of that old footage and let them see. But and that shelter will be torn down when they move here. And the move is coming soon. We'll have that in the news when it's ready. Not quite, but they're very, very close.
Very close, very close.
Very close. So I know they'll be excited to get out here. You'll be excited to get out here.
We will, yes.
And the plus for the public, because this was paid for by Buncombe County. We did build this shelter, and we're very proud of it, happy to do it. But what is some of the pluses for the public?
Okay, the public now has a better place to come to look for animals if we happen to be caring for their animal. And I'm not saying that the care is any less now.
No.
Certainly the Humane Society provides excellent care there at the old shelter. It's just the facility is horrible. But here, I think it's a more comfortable place to come. It's a better environment for the animal. And I think that it'll make the animal happier. It'll make it less stressful.
Well, and easier to separate out the animals that are adoptable from those that really are not.
Right, and might make it to where we can adopt out more.
I think so. I
think
really
so
do.
Too. I do too.
And our goal is 0 euthanation.
Yes.
And 100% adoption.
Right.
I think we can get closer to that here.
Of all healthy animals, yes.
Oh,
mind
of
and
all
body.
healthy.
Yes, mind and body.
That's right.
That's the key. And the thing is, here we have a little bit more space, so we're not having to kill animals for space.
Right.
And that's huge. That is huge.
Well, I know we're proud of it. We're going to take the tour, and you need to stay tuned for the next segment where we're going to talk about the leash law, and Helen does a fabulous job walking you through that, so stay tuned.
I'd say as a commissioner, this might be one of the more exciting days when we open this, because we need to take care of our animals. I mean, they're God's creations too, and we hadn't been doing what we should do. And so this is going to be for all the municipalities. There's 6 different ones in Buncombe County, and we're going to be working with all of them. It's a great collaboration with Asheville Humane Society and AB Tech. So I think the community is going to be very proud of this, and I think it's going to be very functional and useful. We have a countdown for zero policy right now that we're trying to eliminate euthanasias or killing of animals. We got to work on that. That's a tough, lofty goal, but I think facilities like this and working with AB Tech and the Humane Society will help us get there a lot faster.
I am so glad that hard winter is over and we are outside here on a beautiful day out in one of the neighborhoods here in Buncombe County, and I'm with Helen Hall, Animal Control Director. Correct. For Buncombe County. And we're going to talk about animals today because Buncombe County has a new animal control ordinance. You can find that online at buncombecounty.org. But there's a few things that you're having trouble with that we want to go over, and some stuff that you guys need to know. So sit back, relax, enjoy this with us. Helen, I know there's several things I want to make sure we talk about. One, though, is near and dear to your heart, and that's the leash law.
Yes.
Explain that to folks at home.
Okay, what the leash law is part of the ordinance that covers what you can and cannot do with your pet while it's off of your property. Meaning, if your animal leaves your property, it has to be under your physical control. There's been several different variations to that, such as if the animal was under your voice commands, it could be off your property. Or if the animal was on adjoining property, it could be off the property, but not anymore. Now it has to be under your physical control.
So the new law says, let's say that I have, I want to talk about cats in a minute. Let's say I have a dog and I am out in my yard with the dog. Does it have to be on a leash while I'm in my yard?
No, ma'am. No. As long as you're in your yard, your dog does not have to be on a leash.
But let's say we step out of the yard in a beautiful neighborhood like this and we decide to take a walk up the road. I need to clip a leash on that dog.
Yes, ma'am. Take a walk up the road, take a walk on walk trails, take a walk at a dog park.
Aha.
Your animal needs to be on a leash.
That's another key thing, because out in Buncombe County there's lots of these now, but definitely in the city of Asheville now that's a little different, but we want to talk about that too. There's a lot of dog parks.
Right.
That doesn't mean as soon as I get there I unclip it and it can run free.
No, no. We have a lot of animal attacks, animal to animal, animal to people. That occur because someone just takes their dog to a park or to a dog walk or to a walk on walking trails, and they'll let their dog off lead and their dog attacks another dog or a person.
Right, and then they're in deep trouble.
Yes, they are in deep trouble.
And even, I know, even during some festivals downtown, the dogs need to be on those leashes because they can go. Even if you think your dog is just super sweet and always with you, you never know what's going to set them off.
No. Or you never know what's going to set another dog off, and if your dog's not close enough to you, you may not be able to do anything to stop the attack.
That's exactly right. Okay, so if we're going to go on a walk, I need to keep it on a leash. If I'm in a dog park, on a leash. Now what, like I said, we're going to talk about cats in a minute, but what happens if, okay, my dog gets out of the fence, goes running off, and you pick it up? Animal control, one of our great animal control officers, finds the dog running loose. No collar, because if it's out in the yard, a lot of people don't have the collars on.
Right.
What happens to the animal?
Okay, we like for the dog to have a collar just simply because there is the rabies law and the dog has to have a rabies collar, a tag on the collar at all times. Unfortunately, as you said, we don't always do that. A lot of dogs do not like to wear a collar, so they're out, they're running around. We find the dog out, we'll scan the dog, see if it has a microchip. If it has a microchip and we can return it to the owner, then we will.
Okay.
And at that point, we will not charge the owner for the first offense for the animal running at large.
Right. So if you pick up my dog and you scan it and you find, and you take the, first of all, you take the animals to the shelter.
No, we scan it first.
Okay.
Yes.
That's key.
Yes.
So you scan the dog when you find it, comes up, ooh, this is who it is, you return it and say, look, don't do this again.
Right. Don't do it again.
What? That's very nice.
Well,
that's good. That's a good service, actually.
Thank you. What we're trying to do, one, is keep the number of dogs going to the shelter down.
Right.
Because sometimes your dog you may let it out and you may let it run, and we hope that you don't, but you might. And it may not come back for a couple of days, and you may not know that it's gone.
Right.
You may think it's out visiting the neighbors or whatever, and then 3 days passes, you finally think, well, I really need to contact the shelter. And at that point, it may be too late because the shelter only has to hold an animal for 3 days.
This is key. This is something I've just learned and you guys need to know. And we're going to talk about microchipping in just a minute too. But let's say your dog doesn't have a microchip.
Correct.
It gets out the fence accidentally or runs out the door or whatever, like you said, is running loose. Y'all pick it up, no microchip. It does go to the shelter.
Yes.
If there's no microchip, no collar, no way to notify an owner of the animal, you only have to keep it.
The shelter only has to keep it for 3 days.
For 3 days. And then after that 3 days, you guys can adopt it out or
Humanely euthanize.
Worst case scenario,
yes.
Humanely euthanize. That's huge. That's
huge.
not a lot of span of time.
No. Which is the main reason that we came up with the idea of having people microchip their pet.
Right.
And if we do pick up your dog, it's running at large, and you happen to think, okay, I get home today, my dog's not where it normally is, it may have broken out because we do have escape artists.
Sure.
Your dog happens to break out and it takes off and we pick it up, or someone else picks it up, takes it to the shelter, so it doesn't get hit by a car or something. Before it leaves the shelter, it will be microchipped.
So if within that 3 day span, or 4 if the dog happens to still be there, you call and say, I want to come see my dog, you go down there, you find your pet. Is that when you microchip it? You say, I want to get my pet back. They can't get their pet back until it's been microchipped.
Absolutely. And can I add in there, if a person comes home and they find that their dog is not there, they should immediately contact the shelter.
That's huge.
And they should file a missing animal report. A lot of people will call us and we'll take the report, but we'll also have them call the shelter because the shelter will be looking for that animal. And, you know, like I said, it may not be animal control that takes it in. It could be the city of Asheville's animal control. It could be a neighbor.
Right.
Or someone just doesn't know where the dog belongs.
Finds an animal in their yard and goes, I don't want this.
Exactly.
Takes it to the shelter.
Exactly. In addition to that, I say that you should go to the shelter every other day and look at the animals, because what you think is a pit mix, someone else may think is a lab mix or a chow mix or some other type of dog.
And it's your dog and they don't recognize it.
Exactly.
So you don't automatically microchip animals that come to the shelter?
No, we do not. However, if you come to claim your dog, then it will be microchipped before it leaves the shelter.
All right. So this is not going to happen again.
Exactly. And the reason for that again is last year we had almost 12,000 calls for service in animal control. Yes, ma'am. Just in Buncombe County. That is a lot of calls.
Yes, it is.
And when you figure that animals running at large were probably about 5,000 of those calls, and I mean out of the animal bites, the running at large, dangerous animals, cruelty to animals, barking dogs, injured or sick, animals running at large was the largest number of calls that we received. Then we had to come up with a way to, one, lower the numbers of animals taken to the shelter, because we are trying to make it to where no healthy animal is euthanized.
Right, that's just not a good solution for anybody.
No, it's not. And then two, we're trying to make it to where our officers do not keep picking up the same dogs.
Right. And so the animal will be microchipped before you can get it back, and there's a fee for that.
Yes, $10 fee, yes ma'am.
That's the deal. And
it
then,
is a deal.
And then there's
deal.
Probably a fine to get your animal back at that point.
Well, what they'll have to do is they'll have to pay the fees the shelter imposes, which means if it's been there for 2 days, then it's got room and board for 2 days. And if the animal control officer places a citation on it for maybe running at large, not being spayed or neutered, or not having its rabies vaccination, then the officer will take care, or the shelter will take care of giving a citation to the person.
So, the most humane, the smartest thing to do now, if you have an animal that you love, is to get that animal microchipped. However, is it expensive? Is it dangerous? Does it hurt the animal? It sounds painful.
Okay. It is somewhat. It is somewhat.
Yeah.
And I would say that depends on the size of the animals. I've been to the clinics. We have a clinic the last Saturday of every month, and we do offer microchipping if people would like to have their animals microchipped.
Right.
And during this time, we do see that some smaller dogs, it does hurt a little bit, but it's just for that minute.
Not a big deal.
No, it's like any shot.
Okay. And it could be the life of the pet, really.
Seriously, it could be the life of the pet.
So it's a tiny little chip that goes under their skin, I think under their...
Right here.
Oh, it goes in there.
In the nape of their neck, the same place that we put the rabies vaccinations.
Okay. Now there was, some years ago, there was tattooing. Animals could be tattooed.
Yes.
Do they still do that?
I know that the Humane Alliance does when they spay or neuter.
Okay.
We do not, simply because we don't have that option available to us.
But that would work too. If one of the officers finds a dog and it's tattooed in a way that could get the animal back to the owner.
It would, because then we could go back through. The only thing is, and I stress this, the Humane Alliance puts a tattoo on the animal so that they can tell that it has been spayed or neutered. That doesn't give the information of the owner, which is what we need.
Really, so microchipping is still the optimum. Just for folks out there that may have their animals tattooed, microchipping is still optimum.
It is to us, because we can call the company that the microchip comes back to and get the information on the owner.
Okay.
Now, I do request that if you have your animal microchipped, if you move or change your telephone number, that you contact the person who your microchip is through to let them know.
Right. Okay. So they know how to get you guys connected in case the dog gets loose.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. There's tons of information like this on our website, so if you've missed any of this or want to know more about what we've talked about, buncombecounty.org is a key there. I've just got to ask you though, you got to have your pets under your control at all times. What about cats?
You know, that's impossible at times. It seems to me like I have a cat. Actually, my husband has a cat.
Yeah.
And the cat came with him to our marriage.
Yeah.
So he takes the cat outside and he's got a leash. She does not like that leash.
Oh no.
And she will fight him over that leash. It's not easy to do, however, it is something that still has to be done. You have
to keep your
control of your
animal.
cat,
It's
yes.
not just dogs, it's cats too.
Yes. I am dealing with a woman right now, bless her heart. She has had to replace every piece of furniture on her back deck because the neighbor's cat has tore up her furniture. So we loaned her a Humane trap to trap the cat. She trapped the cat, the neighbor came over and let it out. So now we're looking at possible charges of trespass for the neighbor.
So see what's happening out here? This is not just to protect your animal, it's protect your neighbors and then protect you from legal charges that could come because of something your animal does that comes natural to it.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is nothing new. I mean, this is, since we took animal control 3.5 years ago, this is the same. So I don't want anyone to think that this part of the ordinance has changed, because it has not. We have the right, if your animal bites someone, to make you get $100,000 insurance, liability insurance. We also have the right to put protective measures on the animal, and we have the right to seize your animal and take away your ownership rights if you do not do what is necessary to protect the public.
So when you just boil the ordinance down, there's just a few little tiny steps they could take and everybody would be better off.
Yes,
keep your animal on a leash.
Yes.
Get it microchipped.
Yes.
You know, keep it under your control and everything will be fine. Your calls will go down and then you can go to those places where they are having some serious trouble, and you guys need to address those issues.
Exactly.
So let's stop for a minute and say, when, I'm not sure everybody at home knows, when should they call animal control? They know if they've lost their dog, if there's a dangerous dog next door, you know, they sometimes go. What other issues can y'all help people with? Okay,
anything to do with an animal, within reason. We do not get the cats out of the tree. We don't have the means to do that. Certainly if a person finds a bat inside of the home, we want to send that off for testing.
Oh, you use bats?
Because the rabies, there is a concern of a rabies virus, so we will send those animals off. Possums, snakes, things inside of the home, we will come out and we will remove them.
Okay.
Yes. To me, though, that's not an emergency call, so if you call at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got a possum in your house, I may ask you if you can safely, open the door for a few minutes, let it try to run out, or wait until in the morning, because I always ask people to keep in mind that our animal control officers work their shift during the day.
Right.
They're on call at night, so if you call at 3 o'clock in the morning, they've already worked their shift during the day, and they have to come out in the night.
Yeah.
So we like to send them out for animal bites, and that's to place an animal under quarantine, because if an animal bite does occur, we place the animal under a 10-day quarantine. Doesn't mean we want to take the animal, doesn't mean we want to put protective measures on the animal if we don't have to.
So let's say that an animal does come into my yard and I do get bit. Should I call the sheriff or should I call you?
Well, same thing.
Okay.
It's
get that clear. Okay.
Same thing. We have a number, 253-1195, which has always been the animal control number. If you dial that number, it transfers to our communications division.
Okay.
So I ultimately would like to changed that number to our communications number. For now, though, you can still dial either number and get to us.
And you will get where you need to go no matter what.
Yes, you will get where you need to go.
Okay. Is there any other weird things that people just don't know about animal control that you really want folks at home to know? That you can help them with, or that you can't and they really should call somebody else?
You know, actually, any question we're willing to answer.
I love that.
We love it. We do, truly. We'll come out and we'll talk with groups. If there's a problem in the neighborhood, we'll come out and talk with the neighborhood. We'll come out and talk with any civic group. We'll sit face to face with you and talk with you.
So if there's any animal question, really, that they have, you can just call and they will straighten it out. Explain the ordinance that we've gone over, explain how to get these things done. Spay and neutering is also huge, and I know you guys are big on that, wanting people to get their animals spayed and neutered.
We are indeed. In fact, it is our policy that if we come to your house for whatever reason, and your animal has not been spayed or neutered, we will write you a citation, and then we'll drop the citation if you either comply or get an unaltered permit.
Right. Now, I'm going to end with this because this is a big question.
Huge. I know where you're going.
Barking dogs.
Yes, ma'am. Barking dogs.
As this community gets more populated and we scooch in together, barking dogs is a problem. I know we had one at our house, and we just called the neighbor and said, please do something. Thank goodness they did, and they resolved it. However, that's not always the case.
Not always the case.
What should people do?
And in some instances, people feel like they can't talk with their neighbor, or they don't want their neighbor to know that they're the ones that call. The best thing to do is go ahead and call animal control and let us talk with the neighbor. What we'll do is we'll send an officer out. But if we cannot prove that the dog is barking, we cannot do anything. So we have to put it back on the person who is actually suffering and hearing the barking. And we ask them to keep up with the log. And then after a couple of weeks, they turn the log into us. We have a barking dog panel, believe it or not, that reviews the case. And if they find that everything's in order, they will send the complainant a letter telling them that they can go to the magistrate's office and take a warrant. So, if your dog is barking and it is a nuisance, your neighbor can take a warrant on you.
Right. So there is a way to get results.
Yes, ma'am.
But the best thing to do is contact the neighbor and say, this is an issue.
Yes, or
if you can,
us. Yes.
or contact you.
Right. And we'll contact the neighbor. We try to make that our first step. Anytime that we get a call, we try to contact the neighbor first, and we'll let them know what the process is. We'll say, the process is starting now, and you need to know that if this continues to be a problem, your neighbor has the right to take a warrant on you, which means you go to jail, you go to court.
Right. And if folks at home, because this broadcast goes out to people all over Buncombe County and in the municipalities, if they're not sure who to call, they can call you and you will get them to the right place.
Yes, exactly. The only municipality that we are in charge of in this county is Black Mountain. We take care of all of their animal control calls. For the other cities, they, by ordinance, have to have their own ordinance and their own animal control department unless they adopt ours.
Right, but you can straighten them out on that.
I can tell them who they need to talk with. We love resources. We can't always take care of the problem ourselves, but we can direct you where you need to be.
That's right. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we hope this information's helped you. Like I said, if we went too fast, you missed some of it, hey, watch it again. If not, log on to buncombecounty.org and all the information will be there for you. And stay tuned. I'm so glad you joined us for this episode out here at the new Buncombe County Animal Shelter. Just wanted to take just a second here at the end of the show to invite you to join us for a really cool thing that we're doing this month in July. It's called Christmas in July. And what we're doing is we're collecting items that we're going to send to our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan for Christmas. But we have to get the stuff now, and then we're going to ship it up to Operation Care Package. They're going to send it off, and our troops will have this at Christmas. Please join us. You can find out all the details about this initiative at buncombecounty.org/troops. It'll tell you what you can drop off, where you can drop the stuff off, and we want you to join us because it's going to be a really cool thing. I'll come back next month and tell you the results. I'll tell you how much we collected and how much we got to send off. But please join us. Log on to buncombecounty.org/troops and be a part of it this July.